Test, test. Okay, Leslie, you want to try your mic?
Testing?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear Leslie?
Test.
Okay, we're
We're
ready
good?
to go.
Okay.
All right, let's go. No, thank you for fixing that, and so quickly. So Cassie, I see just a black screen.
Okay, sorry, I deleted the title. Let me just write this title real quick.
Okay.
Okay, ready, stand by.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. Today is February 9th, 2026, and we are here this afternoon in our Commissioners' Conference Room at our Administrative Services Building for our work session with our Community Planning Infrastructure Resources Department with Director Leslie Ellis. I am Larimer County Commissioner Jody Shabagnally, Chair of the Board of County Commissioners. I'm joined today by my colleagues, Commissioner John Kafalos and Commissioner Kristen Stevens. We also have our County Manager, Lorenda Volker, and at the table, again, Director Ellis, who is going to start off our session, and I think we're going to meet the new county engineer. I'll turn this over to you, Leslie. Thank you.
We are. Good afternoon, Commissioners, and happy Monday. So it's my great pleasure to introduce to you today Nicole Hahn, who is our new county engineer, and she's coming to us with quite a wealth of experience, stepping in where Mark Peterson is retiring after 28 years. So we'll also celebrate his retirement in a few weeks coming up. But today, I really wanted to focus on Nicole so you could get to know her a little bit. And she has tremendous experience leading engineering teams with clarity and purpose, and she's guided infrastructure programs across northern Colorado. She's collaborated with many of the partners that we work with in northern Colorado. She has a strong commitment to public service, and so those were some of the skills and experiences I wanted to highlight. Most recently, she was working in the city of Loveland, where she oversaw transportation engineering, traffic, transportation development review, street maintenance and rehabilitation, and transportation planning and right-of-way inspection. Hopefully I didn't skip anything. She's managed through that experience and some of her former experience multi-million-dollar capital programs and advanced long-range priorities and improved project delivery there. And she also has quite a leadership experience under her belt of working with large teams and organizations. So we're excited for that. She has experience working both in Fort Collins and at CDOT, partners who we work with a lot, as well as Loveland. And she's gained a lot of experience in communicating complex engineering projects and programs across those jurisdictions. So I'm really excited to support her success here as she comes on, and she's stepping into a very strong, stable team, thanks to Mark and Rusty and their leadership. And so we really expect that she'll be able to continue the success of that team and add improvements and really make tremendous progress going forward on some of the challenges that we have around funding and some other areas that we're working on. So I think I've covered everything I wanted to touch on, but please join me in welcoming Nicole to our team.
Thank you, Leslie. Welcome, Nicole. We're really glad to have you. Would you like to speak for a couple of minutes, and then we'll see if my colleagues have any questions.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I'm excited to be here with you today and very excited to be with your talented team here at Larimer County. I'm definitely here on purpose and excited to serve this community. I've spent my career serving municipalities within Larimer County, and I'm very excited. I think a lot of our regional challenges, they don't stop at jurisdictional boundaries, and so this role, I think, is going to be an exciting one for partnership across the region. and I'm very excited to do that as well. I'm committed to providing very clear communication with you all, good sound engineering judgment as we go forward, and excited to just keep the great work that's been happening here at Larimer County going. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, I'll start with Commissioner Cavallis. Would you like to make a comment or say anything, sir?
Just welcome to the team. Nicole, it's very nice to meet you. Look forward to future opportunities to work together on all kinds of important stuff to establish and build our relationship. Welcome, indeed welcome.
Commissioner Stevens.
Yeah, welcome, Nicole. We've got the chance to work together a little bit on transportation things, so it's good to meet you. I will say, welcome to the team, and people, when they heard you were coming here, were like, you're really lucky to have her. I mean, I heard that from a lot of people in the transportation sector that are just, that were really excited about the appointment, and to hear that you were coming here and staying in the area. And so we are grateful to have you here, and you have the right kind of experience for us to move forward, and you understand the challenges all too well that we have around transportation and funding and some of these big projects. But it sounds like you're the person we need to meet the moment. So thank you for applying, and we're glad to have you. And I'm sure I will see you in future transportation meetings.
Thank you, Commissioner. I kind of echo my colleagues, but I wanted to say, I heard the same things where folks approach you. Hey, I hear you're getting Nicole, or you're so lucky. And I guess what I like to comment on that is, you don't go ask, people come to you and say you're lucky. That really reflects, I think, very, very well on your depth of knowledge and experience, but also the relationships that you have. I mean, I think that also is really important in local government, with relationships and trust and connections. And obviously, we're very fortunate to have, you have obviously a lot of those. And I think that is great for our organization, because a lot of this is working across jurisdictional boundaries and having those relationships. So just want to say welcome, really thrilled to have you. And I agree with you, you're joining an amazing team. And Mark's been there a long time, but he has an amazing team. And I know how our departments work across department boundaries. There are no boundaries, everyone's a team. And so I look forward to having you on the team and all the work that we'll do together. So welcome. I'm going to see if Lorenda wanted to add anything. And I look forward to our, hopefully we have positive things to work on to start with. So
I think we have a lot of great things to look forward to. This is what, day 3? She hit the ground running last week with a staff meeting, and the team were able to explain what they do and how they coordinate with one another. And of course, they had a lot of connections with Nicole already. So a lot of that, those relationships are already built or have a good foundation. So welcome. It gets slower, I promise you. It feels so new right away, but we're all here to help and support your success. Thanks.
echo that too, and just grateful to have you. So, thank you, Leslie, for introducing me.
Yes,
we
thank
have
you.
a lot of some important positions that are being filled by some outstanding folks, and
We do.
and that also reflects on you, Leslie, picking some amazing people. So, thank you.
All right, well, thank you. And we will move ahead to our planning process improvement topic. So Jenny and Cassidy, is that you two? And Rebecca?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Let me get plugged in and we'll get going. The purpose of today's presentation is just to walk you through some customer service improvements that we have implemented, some that we're in the process of implementing, and get your feedback on some that we'd like to implement. So with that, here we go. Maybe. Okay, perfect. So past, as you all may recall, about 6 months ago, we were here before you to request some updates to our noticing procedures. Those passed, and we've collected data on how that's been going so far. We've implemented the public input system for collecting public comment for our hearings. We have started moving to cover memos for projects that go before the BCC rather than attaching 2 staff reports to those packets, and we've started implementing motion slides. We're looking at doing some additional staff report updates, subdivision process streamlining right now, and then considering in the future evaluating variances versus minor modifications, looking at delegating authority of development agreements to speed up that process, as well as considering a hearing procedure, pre-meeting slideshow and website. So just a quick update on the notice. We have been tracking how many returned postcards we got prior to the code and after the code. Overall, we're saving about 50% with the new regulations in effect than we were previously, so we think that's a really good cost savings. It's about a little over $5,000. We've reduced staff time by approximately 66%, so 2/3. So it takes our staff much less time to produce these notices. And we used to get 1 out of every 5 postcards back, and now that's plummeted to only 3.4%. So we're really pleased with the improvements. This is, you'll recognize as the new reports that you're getting out of public input. We think it really clearly summarizes all the information that we've been getting. It reduces staff time tremendously to have a system to collect these. Previously, we were printing every single email as a PDF and assembling packets, and that was taking quite a long time for projects that had a lot of public interest. And so we find this is going well. We hope you are also enjoying these new reports. Lastly, we're trying to make the packet smaller, and we've eliminated some duplicative work, and so we're doing a cover memo that summarizes what happened in Planning Commission and anything noteworthy, and then just giving you the Planning Commission staff report. That reduces repetitive attachments and hopefully makes it easier to understand what has occurred. Then lastly, I wanted just to bring up, we're trying to consistently give you a slide during the hearings for the consent agenda, as well as each individual case that you need to make a motion on. We by no means think you have to stick to this script. You're welcome to make your own motions, but sometimes it's nice just to have something to start from when you're making those motions. So that's another change we've implemented. We've also done some small things. You can now find laptop chargers at the dais. We're trying to bring a water pitcher in because some of these hearings go on a really long time. So if you have any other suggestions on making these easier, we'd love to hear them. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Cass, and she's going to talk through the staff report updates.
Thank you, Jenny. Let me plug them here. All right, so I'll zoom in a little bit so it's easier to see, but you'll remember back in 2024 now, even though that was a while ago, that we sent out a survey asking for feedback on our existing staff reports that have remained relatively similar over quite a long period of time. And so knowing that, we're looking to kind of meet the moment and update those reports in conjunction with all of the updates that Jenny mentioned. A big focus based on the feedback we received is making it more visually appealing, but also easier to understand for both those decision makers as well as members of the public who are reading them. So one thing that we did here was sort of a quick summary at the beginning was very helpful. So in this case, it's not fully filled out because this is just a template, but it would include sort of the key issues with a case or key action items, key recommendations. It includes a summary of the request and the notice given. And then something that we heard was the desire for more visuals. So on top of the existing vicinity map and some of the site plans that we receive, we wanted to include more information about zoning and our comprehensive plan. And instead of focusing just on the criteria for an application, kind of give more background related to the underlying decisions that have to be made, and how those all of those approved documents, in effect, can play into a recommendation. Also, as Jenny mentioned, we wanted to specify sort of what that public outreach or public comment looked like for those applications. So we would include, obviously, those public input comments, and any feedback received from the public. We thought that it would be helpful to include something like next steps for applications that might be multi-phase or require more than one approval. And we also thought that it would be helpful to include not only the staff recommended motion in most cases, but in some cases include options for other motions to consider, whether that be denial or additional conditions. And then based on potential Municode or the new software updates for uploading staff reports. We're hoping to sort of expand on the ability to either link documents or really make it easier to get to the documents that you're looking for when trying to make those decisions in a very quick time frame. So stay tuned on that, but those are some of the changes that we're looking at right now.
So just an example, for a 1041 permit, we might link a technical assessment that's not part of the main application materials so that you just have the regular attachments as an attachment paper copy. All right. So then the next thing we're working on is trying to streamline our subdivision process. I think we've gotten a lot of feedback from customers that it takes a really long time to go through our process, even for a simple 1 or 2 lot subdivision. So we've been working with the county attorneys, and Christine and Frank have been wonderful helping us explore options. So one of the ways we're looking is to have we have this now, is waiving sketch plan processes for experienced applicants. So that's the pre-process you go through before we receive a preliminary plat. The other option that the code already allows for is to combine the preliminary plat and the final plat into one step for plats with fewer lots. I think it's 5 or 6 is capped at the code, but we're looking to offer that option more to our applicants. We have the option to require more upfront so that we get a more complete application to begin with, as well as have more specific timelines in our code. So for example, we could say that if we don't get a resubmittal by a certain amount of time, that the application is withdrawn. Right now, that's 180 days, so that's a pretty long time. But I do want to say one of the options that we did look at and could not move forward with is it is a statutory requirement that the Board of County Commissioners approves all preliminary plats. All right, in the future, evaluating variances versus minor modifications. So there's 2 different types of modifications in the code. A variance and a minor modification. A variance goes before the Board of Adjustment, and a minor modification is approved administratively by staff. So here's our dashboard. This is too small to mean much, but I just wanted to point out that subdivision cases are one of the highest number of cases that we get average in a year. So this past year, we, I think, had 20 subdivision cases, and we had 16 minor modification cases. In 2024, we had 31 subdivision cases. It was or 31 variance cases. It was by far the most applied for case type. So we're looking to see if there's a way to right-size those 2 processes, because they generally apply to the same thing. It's a setback change, it's a lot size minimum change, it's a building height change. And so what the code allows for now is, for example, a lot size. If the modification you're requesting is 10% or less than the code requirement, that can be handled administratively through a minor modification. Otherwise, it has to go to the Board of Adjustment for a variance. And since those meetings only occur once a month, it's a considerable extra amount of time for the applicants to go through to get those done. 10% is a very small deviation. So what we would propose is looking at maybe increasing the deviation that would be considered in a minor modification so that we can reduce the number of variances that we're processing. All right. So the other thing we are taking a look at and are curious to get feedback on is development agreements. Most of our subdivisions have an additional document that goes with them that's a development agreement that specifies public improvements required as part of the project. Right now, those go to admin matters for you all to review and sign as part of that, and that adds at least 2 to 3 weeks to the process. That is something that the county statutes do allow to be delegated to a staff member instead. So I'm not identifying what staff member would be the delegation, but it's something we could consider if we wanted to try and streamline that process a bit. Lastly is meeting participation. So this is an example from the city of Fort Collins. They've put a video online so that when people are getting ready to come to, this is any of their meetings, but applies to land use hearings as well, they feel prepared and know what to expect when they arrive. So I don't know that we would be doing a video. It could be a presentation that someone could download. It could also be slides that are, start 10 minutes before the meeting, and people, as they walk in, can kind of get acclimated to what to expect. So those are some improvements that we've completed, are working on, and would like to do in the future. And I would love to hear your suggestions for anything else or what you think of those I've discussed. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny and Cass. Appreciate the work that you guys have already done. Already, you know, the public improvement input thing has been a big game changer. I do have several questions and concerns, but I'm going to start with my colleagues. Commissioner Stevens, did you want to ask any of your questions or make comments?
Yeah, so thank you. It was great to see the change with the postcards and that was great to see that was such a savings, and to not have so many returned. I mean, having 2,000 returned, that's a lot of return mail. With that number, was staff time also included in the savings, or that was just, you just know?
That's just materials. That's not staff
Just
time.
materials, so
Yeah.
staff time is
Postage,
really
yeah.
important. Yeah, what I like about a lot of the suggestions, whether it's stuff that you've done already or that you're currently doing or considering, is that I think that there's three things here. This is like trying to reduce staff time, so you're working on the, you know, highest and best, most important things you need to be doing and not shuffling a lot of paperwork. More clarity for the people that we serve, more efficiency for them too, because their time is important to them as well. We know on our end, project delays cost money, on their end, the same deal. And then I appreciate, as someone, you know, making decisions in a land use hearing, to have things that are easy to read and find. You know, I will say that I've often struggled with kind of like going back and forth between things, and, you know, I mean, the things that I really want to see, like, as the chair, I always want to be able to find the applicant name, so I'm usually trying to bold that because I want to address people by their name. I know that I'm always looking for the framework that we need to, so, you know, the criteria is something really helpful to have up front and sort of bolded, and so I can find that easily. And then, you know, anything from our partners and anything from the public. I mean, those are the kind of, you know, main things. Obviously, there's a lot more to read and look at than that, but those are the things that, as I'm making my decision, I really want easy access to. So I love formatting that to make it visually easier to read. And also, I think it's great for the community to be able to see it in that way too. So I'm very supportive of all the work that you're doing here. Simpler is better, and it's not about leaving out information, it's about easy access to the important information. So I think that piece is really important. I like the idea of whether it's a video or something that gives people an idea of what a land use hearing is like. I think that can be so confusing for folks, and we've seen people who are confused. Do I talk now? Can I talk? They're always trying to raise their hand and talk when they've already had a chance to talk. But I mean, you know, like how would you know? I mean, most people don't have to go through a land use hearing, so there's no, and you hate for people to feel uncomfortable and not speak their mind when they need to do that, whether it's to pull an item or give their public testimony. So I think you've hit the mark in all those spaces. I don't really have any additional direction, just to say that I think this is really important to make sure that we're doing these in a way that's easier for everyone and more understandable for everyone. And with regard to the things that you want to do in the future, I mean, I do think that, if there's stuff that can happen at the administrative level that's not statutorily required to come to us, I mean, I'm definitely willing to consider that for sure. So I guess no really, comments beyond good work, and I support these efforts, and I really appreciate that you're really digging into this, because we know, I mean, it's not just that you need to be working on the important stuff, but it's like, I mean, we have only so many limited dollars. We need you to be, I mean, if we're spending those dollars kind of tracking down paperwork, that's not a good use of our taxpayer dollars. And so I do think that for all those reasons, this is great, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Stevens. Commissioner Kafales.
Yes, thank you. I have a few questions and a few comments to affirm your work. First of all, I think this is excellent work. Thank you very much. I agree with what I just heard regarding your request on the development agreement process, as we can do that according to statute administratively. Anything that can be done to streamline, improve the customer experience. So I'm supportive of moving in that direction. certainly to delay by 2 weeks, as you indicated, Jenny. So with that, couple of questions that come to mind. When will this new look be implemented? Because as I look at the book that we got today, I call it the Land Use Hearing Bible, which actually isn't so bad. I see that there are, and we've been seeing those staff memos that I think are very helpful, in terms of summarizing some of the conversation at Planning Commission, et cetera. But I see it only, they're not with every item that we have today, whether it's discussion item or consent. So that's a question. I'll pause there, see how you answer that one.
So we are only doing a memo if it goes to Planning Commission first. There's a lot of case types that go straight to you, which
That's
get
what I thought.
a staff
Okay.
report.
Great. So we are implementing it, but you clarified that anything that goes to Planning Commission will get that memo, so we don't have to rehash some of that stuff.
Correct.
Makes sense. And also, I'm wondering, because we've been talking about this for a long time, especially when it's a big rule, land use hearing packet like a 1041, I'm reminded, for example, when we approved the 1041 permit application for the expansion of Halligan Reservoir, there were at least 3 copies of the draft environmental impact statement, which added to the 1,000 pages that we had. Are we going to be able to fix that, or do we have to have everything in there?
That was a bit of a unique submittal because we take anything the applicant gives us as part of the record. And so the applicant actually submitted 3 copies and didn't submit a very clean application. So hopefully we can not have that situation occur in the future. But also I think by adding links in, we can reduce the number of documents and you can access it on a laptop or otherwise so that you don't get as much in the packet. But I do believe our county attorney staff would tell us that we have to give that stuff to you in a certain way.
Thank you. May I just ask a couple more?
Sure, I'd like to have.
Yes, I'm sure. Let's see. Another question. So, yeah, I do think it would be very helpful, yes, the matter of, especially when it's a big packet, to be able to hit a hot link and go to a particular document that's on page 657. And it seems like we've been challenged to actually implement that. It has to do with PDFs or something, I don't know. When will we be able to do that?
So it's my understanding that we're looking at that through the implementation of Civic Plus, moving from Unicode to Civic Plus. And so right now we can't, it's not time effective to fix Unicode. And so we hope that we can start that in March.
Unicode. Just my last comment question. Thank you, Madam Chair. Let's see. See if I can weave this all together. So I think what you showed initially with the pictures, the overhead pictures and the maps, I think that's really great. Where it's appropriate, or if the applicant doesn't provide the pictures, it would be nice to see photographs real life photographs of what the situation is like, because we don't really have the time or the wherewithal to actually visit a site. So that would be one suggestion. And then so I think that's great. The zoning, what the surrounding zoning and the maps and all that, excellent, excellent. And weaving in my question, and this might be one for my favorite community development director, and that is also part of our improvement process, the matter that we've discussed regarding when someone submits something, there's a planner to kind of help shepherd that person through the system so they're not feeling like they're being handed off to all sorts of folks.
Yes, so that is a transition that we're working on. It involves changing job descriptions for some of our planning administrative staff, so it's not as quick as we would like it to. And it's also an approach we're trying to take with the adoption of our improved InterGov system called NED. So we're looking at making that shift to having the primary contact, one of our admin staff, who then can coordinate with the customer as a single source.
So that's great. And so instead of spending as much time putting stamps on postcards, you'll be able to focus more on updating the InterGov of that system.
Correct.
I'm done. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good job.
Well, first off, I just want to say thank you for tackling this, because there's a lot of moving parts, and at the same time, you're still having to process applications. And and work on things as you're going along with this. And I really can see this as a team effort, so I want to just commend you all for that. I think that's great. I have a few questions, and I think already the changes have been noticeable and helpful. I already noticed some things on the digital, take my book home, but I also could look at the digital, and there's some things I can click on that takes me right to that page, so I appreciate that a lot. So first, I want to just comment on a couple things, and I have a question. I have to go back to the first slide about things. I'll try to figure out where it is on my slides here, but I think not only the 50% in savings cost for the postcards, the staff reduction is really remarkable by saving 2/3 of time, and that probably is immeasurable, not only with the staff time, but just the steps and the frustration with trying to get that all done, especially when they come back. So I think that is really remarkable that you have that. And then also just elimination of errors caused by the map inaccuracy, because that's really helpful as well. So my question is the first question is with the notification and getting out to the public, because sometimes we hear that a lot, that they didn't receive a notice, they didn't get a postcard. I mean, that's because it was returned. Are we confident that we're, even with one of the packets we have today, it said it was 1,000-foot notice. Are we confident that we're notifying the correct neighbors and people impacted by this, and how are we evaluating that to make sure? Because that's one thing I don't want to see diminishes making sure the other property owners who have, it's that balancing act, but they have the right to understand what's happening around them as well.
Yeah, thank you for that question, Madam Chair. I think I have not personally received any complaints on notice in any of the hearings that I've attended since we've implemented this. And I think one of the big changes that has made a huge difference in that is we've increased the number of case types that require a sign be posted on the property. Those signs have a QR code. They take you straight to a nice landing page that tries to explain the planning process and get you to that public input. So I think by trading mailings for signage, we've maintained that customer service.
That's what I suspected. That's great to hear. And are we tracking each of those QR codes on that website landing page to see how many people are landing there? Just curious.
I believe we have the ability to, but I don't have that number, and I'd be happy to get it to you.
That's awesome. Well, you know me, I'm going to love to dive in and dig deep, but I appreciate that. With that's the question on the first slide, so I'm just assuming that I'm asking the right question. I should have wrote a little more detail. I guess the cover memos versus staff reports. When you talked about certain, it's great to have that overview and kind of have that all in one place and then be able to go back. Like even for instance, one of the items for today's hearing. It was almost the last thing I looked at was an important report from a stakeholder or a referral agency. And so I don't know how and for me, sometimes those matter a lot to me, the referral agencies. And so I don't know how we put them so they're a little easier, not because I don't know, maybe this is just how the packet was, one of the last things in the packet. And so for me, it would been maybe better to have it maybe right along maybe I don't know how you put that in there for us to have easier, quicker access. I almost want to kind of go through that first before, it just is important community input, but it'd be nice to have the full context before you kind of started, I don't know. Just an idea for me, and maybe I'm the only one that has that, and maybe it's just this one packet, but it struck me this weekend as I was looking at these slides for this. That was one thing I had thought, well, I wonder how we, especially with the fire districts, that's the one I'm kind of looking for some of those things.
Madam Chair, could I ask a clarifying question?
Yep.
When you're looking for those referral agency comments, are you more interested in a summary of what we heard from the referral agencies, or for the kind of the emails or the comments themselves that we received? And that may help us decide kind of how we respond to that, whether we provide more links directly earlier on in the document, or if we summarize more thoroughly in the staff reports.
I think little bit of both. I think that, and I think there's maybe, I need more than just there was no concern, or there is, but then when I read through the letter, when I read the full letter, it gave me some more pause or some more questions. And so I think maybe expanding a little bit, maybe it got, I don't want to say filtered, condensed too much for me, but I'm speaking just for myself. And so so when I got back to that comment, and I know we had the physical packets, which is fine, but when I'm trying to look at those digitally, I'm trying to do those both now, so it adds more time to my day, but it's also really kind of helping me know what I really want to go back in the physical packet and dive in deeper. So that's also on me, I guess. That's also my responsibility to do that. But it would be helpful to maybe make those referral comments maybe just a little more expanded, not to add more work, but just even another hot link in there to go to the report or something. I don't know. So
That's really helpful. Thank you.
no, thank you.
And Madam Chair, if I can just add, we're looking at how we receive comments from our referral agency with the NED upgrade process. I think it's very clunky to have a bunch of pasted emails and then some texts and some memos, and it's just very inconsistent. And so we're aware of that and trying to improve.
Yeah. And I don't know whether it's even a referral agency link. I don't know what that looks like, but and I know there's a lot that are not responding, and that's very disheartening because I know you really try to do outreach tremendously, but some of them are important. So maybe I don't know what that looks like, but I don't want to create more work, but I do think some of those comments are helpful to have, at least what we do have. So
Yeah, I think with this feedback, we can look at some options. So I appreciate that.
Appreciate that. So then the next question I had was, and I want to make sure we have enough time, but I think this is important. I might have more questions outside of this before we really start gang ho on the other direction. I have some more concerns about the sketch plan. I'm pretty sure you would. I think I want to just clarify. You talked about that it was from familiar or folks that we were
Experienced applicants.
experienced. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Thank you. I was starting to think about medical things, about a different word for that. But so I know sometimes sketch plans go out to the public to let them know what's happening. And so my concern is if we skip that step and we're doing that with public noticing, and is that taking a step out for public to have that opportunity to respond to? Or what does that look like? And I apologize. Sorry.
So we're not removing sketch plan. We just tend to maybe tell applicants they have to go through that when it may not be as beneficial for people who are used to the process and have done their due diligence. So it's optional. It would be at the applicant's discretion. It's not staff saying you're not doing a sketch plan, and we would explain the pros and cons to them in that. It would remove that neighbor notice requirement, but they would still get notice with the preliminary plat, and we can could look at adjusting whether a neighborhood meeting would be required if they skip that step.
Yeah, that gives me pause. I just, I get a lot of calls when the sketch plan comes out. It was one of my biggest town halls, but they hadn't even got to that point. But, it would probably have been helpful for people to understand what's really happening. So I guess that is still something that I'm a little leery. I understand especially for experienced applicants, but I think taking any time away from the neighbors, at least be able to inform themselves and understand what's happening, it might save us all a lot of phone calls and response. I don't know. I maybe if it's experienced, but I always caution about taking the opportunity for public to have comments, but I understand the need for streamlining. And I guess I wanted to understand when we say experienced, it just kind of, what does that look like? Is there a criteria? Did they have a successful project? Did they not have a lot of public controversy or feedback? And I don't know what that kind of looks like. Just want to make sure the public doesn't feel like they've been starting to be eliminated out of the process or having a chance to make comment. And that's kind of where I'm a little cautious about that. So thanks for letting me talk about that. I wrote a note more specific. I'll have to try and bring my brain back to that. So then the setbacks. I'm curious about the setbacks. what kind of setbacks? Because I'm going to, I'm very concerned about wetland setbacks, oil and gas setbacks, are these setbacks to people's fence lines and property lines? What kind of setbacks is there? I mean, I would assume riparian areas and those kinds of things are not part of those setbacks, but I'm curious because I think anytime we start kind of encroaching on wetlands and other things like that, I would have some, I'm wondering how we still keep that some discretion, not only for staff, but for us as well. So I'm just curious about that.
So right now, minor modifications from a stream, creek, or river, which is a designated blue line with USGS, you're already allowed to modify that through minor modification up to 50%. That's not a standard. I would personally recommend with us increasing to anything more. That seems like a pretty generous minor modification standard. We have buffers to wetlands, but we don't have a setback to wetlands. So a lot of these would be a setback from a structure to a property line, and it's divided up by front, rear, side. We also have setbacks to county roadways that can be significant and can be different for properties that are within a GMA, because ultimately we would hope the GMA would take on that roadway maintenance. And was there one more? Building height and then lot size minimum. Those are the other two.
Okay. I think just in the interest of time, I might have some more questions about that. And I did have a question about this, what kind of percentage increase for lot size and lot depth width. And because, I remember when we worked on these in the comprehensive plan, a lot of ideas with that. And I know we've had some where ADUs where they were a little bit, 50 feet over or something like that. But I just feel like if we move the goal line or the line, we're just going to have more folks come in, they're going to try to push the line further, and then I just wonder what is the, I just feel like we're changing things that there's a precedent, we moved this line and let someone precedent for that, well, then we should let them move at 200 feet or something, and I'm just wondering what that looks like. So if I would like to have some more information about that and what that looks like, and some I don't want to say guardrails, but some protections, because I'm feeling, for me, just for someone who lives out in corporate Larimer County, if someone's going to build a 200-foot tall building, I'm being exaggerating, right next to my fence line, I would want to have a little more chance to have some feedback on that. So.
Yeah, go ahead, Jen.
I was going to say, we do have criteria of approval for minor modifications that we adhere to and review these. And if we were to decide to move forward with this, we would do some best practice research to see what other jurisdictions are doing. I will say, just from my casual knowledge, jurisdictions are generally allowing 20 to 25% increases instead of 10.
Yeah, and I think what I would like to add is these percentages don't guarantee approval when something is within that range. It just changes the decision maker. And I hear what you're saying about the desire to make sure there's public input and public process. An example I'll share is we have zone districts that have side setbacks of only 5 feet in some instances. And so a 10% variance from 5 feet is so small that for someone to request a 4-foot setback for an existing building that's on the property, that requires a Board of Adjustment hearing. That may be that may be something that we might want to look at, whether there's some additional flexibility in those situations where we're really talking about 6 inches in difference. There may be other instances where we're talking about many more feet, like stream setbacks, road setbacks, where there's a lot more distance that we're looking at there.
Great. And for someone whose building envelope, who's the corner of their house is 6 inches from my building envelope line, that definitely resonates. So, and so the last thing is, if you brought up the GMA and intergovernmental agreements, and I'm just wondering how this all interplays. When you talked about those maps and showing those maps, I see that's some of the zoning and stuff, and I'm assuming the growth management areas and some of those things would also appear on some of those and how this all interplays there.
That's correct. So one of the things that we've added both in the map, but also in one of the tables, is any overlay zone district. So if it's in a floodplain overlay zone district, there's also the ag overlay zone district, which isn't frequently used, but then there is also the GMA overlay. So it would identify which GMA and where that's located. as well as if it is in an area that we don't have like a formal growth management area, or it's something else that was adopted, like the area in between Fort Collins and Loveland, that would be noted as well to take into consideration.
So I think overall, I just have a few more questions, but I'm going to maybe ask if I can have just some more time to ask those. I think you're hearing my overall concern is I don't want to feel like I agree about customer experience and streamlining things, but also I don't want to have the neighbors who have just, balancing property rights, but that they also shall have a chance to have input for some of these items and making sure that's all part of the process and not folks feeling like we're eliminating them out of the process. So if that would be okay with you, Leslie, and Lori and Lorenda, I'd just like to maybe ask, I know you're really busy, but if I could just have a little more time to talk to you. So that's all I have for now. But otherwise, I think also I see streamlining a lot of things and all the stuff to even take already what you've done to take 2/3 staff time. That's pretty impressive. And I'm sure that's also for satisfaction for, employees not having to, I guess I didn't realize you were hand stamping all these things. So that would be a lot of time. So that's all I have for right now. So any other, Commissioner Kafalis?
Thank you. Just one other thing that I think is simple, and that is when staff does the presentation during the hearing, it seems like in the past, some staff will provide hard copies, others will not. As much as I'm trying to reduce paper, I wouldn't mind having hard copies for all the presentations, because it's kind of a cheat sheet you can refer to it rather than, and especially when we get, the way to link into the different attachments or different sections of the, that'll be helpful as well.
We'd be happy to do that more consistently. Thank you for letting me know.
Of course.
Okay. Again, tremendous work. Thank you. I know you all have been, this has been a lot of work, and I do appreciate all of that. So, and maybe I just, once I get more time to talk to you, will ease some of my concerns. So thank you for that. All right. So Leslie, are you up next, or is it to Rebecca?
Yes, thank you. And Jenny, please stick around. So again, Rebecca Everett, Community Development Director. In terms of updates today, I'll have Jenny share any updates related to the 2 land use hearings this afternoon, and then I have one additional update after that.
We did get some additional public comment that came in for an item on the 3 p.m. hearing and the item on the 6:30 p.m. hearing. We did find the moratorium on Reddit, so it sounds like some people may be coming to speak in support of that. So we have 2 discussion items, I believe, on the 3 p.m. case, and then just 1 item on the 6:30 hearing case. For the 6:30 p.m. hearing case, we did not get a lot of public comment at Planning Commission, and we're a little bit surprised by that, so it may not be a long item.
Thank you.
And then I just wanted to share a brief heads up with you all and let you know that the Board of Health that oversees the Department of Health and Environment has adopted some new fees that relate to planning, engineering, and development cases. And we are working on the best way to get those integrated in with our fee schedule that we already have approved, and determining whether we need you all as the Board of County Commissioners to also either approve that fee schedule or approve collection of those fees on behalf of the Department of Health and Environment. So I wanted to let you know that that is a conversation that may come back to you at your next work session, which I believe is 3 weeks out at this point.
Thank you for that update.
Leslie Ellis again. I just have a couple quick updates to wrap us up. One is there is an amendment to a ranch contract on the consent agenda tomorrow, and I wanted to highlight that for you and also let you know that I'll probably do more frequent updates on ranch contracting items as they come forward. Of course, as you know, there's a lot of work happening out there, and you'll see more frequent contracts and amendments. And so either I or Connor or Lindsay may come and tell you more about those changes and progress on projects as they happen. This particular one is an amendment to the Ranch Central Lawn expansion. And if you had a chance to read through the packet, this may be more for the public than for you. You probably read it, but we went through a competitive process in August, and the contractor that was selected did not include all of the amounts necessary to complete the structural soil changes and also some of the significant changes to electrical and so on. And so that's all explained in the packet. So these changes are really to address those needs that weren't necessarily foreseen at that time in August. And so it is a change that exceeds what Connor is authorized or even what Lorinda is authorized to approve. So that's just a good example of the types of things you may see going forward, as well as broader and bigger updates on projects and the status of the projects. That project is currently about 27% complete from a cost perspective. Any questions about that before
Yeah, I did have a
move on?
question. So there, when you say it didn't include costs, just kind of thinking about some other things in the past that have included certain costs for infrastructure. Is that something for us to improve on our side, just to ask other questions or be able to make sure we're getting the right information for those bids and things?
Yeah, I think this was one that was, there were some lessons learned in it, both in terms of our project management team and the way that it was bid out, and just kind of some unknowns on the site itself. And so certainly we will continue to improve our processes, both in the RFP stage as well as in the contracting stage as we move forward.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thanks.
Okay. And then I have another just quick update. We got some news from Department of Transportation's CDOT last week, and this is kind of intended to illustrate a process, but also update you on something specific. So over a year ago, we heard from a constituent who I believe contacted Commissioner Qualis, possibly other commissioners, and then that came to a request through our through Mark Peterson in our engineering department, who reached out to CDOT to see if they could do a speed study at the Glade Road intersection on US 34. And we had a constituent who was very concerned about traffic and speed there. So CDOT then took our request from Mark to do the study, and we learned last week that based on all the data that they look at, crash, sort of crash history and speeds and other factors, that they supported changing this speed from 55 to 45 and 50 in certain areas right around that intersection. So we'll take the next steps with our department to notify the public and put the proper signage out and so on, and loop back to the constituent who originally notified us about it. These things can take time, but I think it is illustrative of a good partnership, again, with that agency and a process that can work through when we hear from a constituent about something that's, kind of a shared piece of infrastructure there. So just wanted to give you that update.
And I have a question about that, because in the meantime, probably how long that took, there's a stoplight there now, and that's changing probably the traffic flow as well. So this was probably completed before that stoplight was put in?
No, this was completed after
Okay.
the stop sign and the stop light, and considering that the stoplight's there. So there's kind of a long history to all of it in terms of what they looked at originally and didn't. But the original speed was not in factoring in the stop sign.
Okay, thank you.
Stoplight, I should say.
Thanks.
Okay, and those were the more substantive items. As you've heard, we don't have another Monday work session until the 2nd. We're trying to coordinate, I think Matt Sura is going to come in, if not that day, and another day to give some updates on rulemaking that he's been working on. So that's on the agenda. We also have some other new employees who we'd like to introduce in March. So they'll be coming in to meet you as well. And we have think those, and some updates on water and water planning we'll probably do in early March as well. Just there have been a few different events around that as well, and some requests from partnering agencies and public to kind of hear the latest on that. So that's what's ahead in the next few weeks. Otherwise, we wish you a happy holiday next Monday on President's Day.
Yeah, and Valentine's Day too, what's coming up,
Yes.
so yeah. Any questions for Leslie or Rebecca? Okay, well, lots of great information, and again, welcome to Nicole, we appreciate having her. But now you have a supers meeting under your belt, so adding all the experiences, and thank you to everybody about the information. And I guess at 2:30 we are adjourned, and we'll see you all in our land use hearing in 30 minutes. Thank you.